I'm continuing with the 1001 scripts, and I think I've learned Grasshopper a lot better in the last 2 months, really focusing on all these videos I put online. I have asked myself, what am I doing and why am I doing it? Which, like I said earlier, are two strange questions to ask when you don't know where you're going and you're learning new techniques just for the sake of learning them. But I think I really am moving towards my interest in sculpture and fabrication, casting, metalwork, and things like that. And what I've done is I've built something here, and I'm just going to put it on, show the full image of it. It's a pretty interesting construct that's done with pipes, poly lines as opposed to NURBS curves. It's something that's could be actually fabricated. And you might ask yourself why you'd want to fabricate something like this. Well, certainly as a welding assignment and having materials and considering how this would be made, it's a nice little script that generates a piece of geometry that you have exact dimensions on. You can use as a resource. You can put this in the 2D drawings. You can send the plans to people to make. The point is, like, why would you want to do a grid work like this? It's certainly not the geometrical primitives that I've used in Platonic forms. A little bit the sphere, but it's a way of making, but it uses trigonometry in it. So using math and trig to fabricate a kind of casting assignment interests me, or a welding assignment interests me. I'm just going to pop it up here and throw on a couple of views just to have an idea of what's being done. Pen and drawing, artistic, things like that. Actually, I didn't want pen. Artistic, and then an overall image of what's happening. Let's take a look at it. It's not baked, so let's take a look at everything that's in that script. And here it is. And I'm going to put it all on preview on. And that will allow us to jump into here and see what's happening. Shaded's probably the best. And how have I made this? Well, honestly, I've made, if I put this on, dealt with what I always deal with, a positive and negative range. And I've set these numbers. I'm not giving them to people to use as sliders. I've actually set them in and internalized the data. And the numbers are very strange. They actually fail out at beautiful numbers like pi in it. But I build a point system, and here it is. That's the point system I make. And I think if you learn from Rhino that curves are sometimes the hardest things to get a handle on, and creating those, it's a wonderful way to make curves using the tangent and the sine. And once they're done, you kind of perfectly are in order for making some beautiful geometries. Polyline it, close it if you want, or not. If I put it to true, it would change it. It would make for a different piece across the middle, which I don't actually want. Sometimes you don't want to have that because your stock doesn't tend to that. It's got some very weird bending, flowing pipes that kind of obey ends on curve, not ends on curve. And so I found the ends of those curves, which actually is, if you think about it, it's just one beautiful curve being generated. Piping that has been interesting. And then you start to see the complexities of welding that, of actually cutting metal, allowing room for fillet welds and things like that. So very interesting to contemplate. I think I put a BREP and capped it. So there you go. I capped the open ends. And I put spheres at the other points. So you basically have a pretty interesting, structure here that's capped. If you look at those two, you can kind of get a sense of what's being made. I find the list items and I want to bring it into BREPs. And what I found is you can't just grab objects that are complex like this and just say, okay, unite a solid union BREP, and where it fails, you've got to take some control. And maybe my system isn't the best, but it certainly works. So I bring BREPs together. This one, this one, this one. I do it in pieces the same way I weld. And I think this is a very interesting process because it allows the fabricator to think, okay, I have to do that step before that step before that step. And in the end, I'm ending up with an orient. This object, and it's going to take a second to do, and there it is. I basically built, aside from it, a wonderful grid, and there it is, 3 by 3, and 10 sides in between it. I have the points on it, so all I have to do is flatten those points and just pull in a nice little orientation tool. So once we get into mass production, we can actually see that was actually produced. That mass manufacturing is tied to mass customization. And although I've set this script here, my scripts are not meant to be, go online, copy them as a tutorial, show somebody, look, ta-da, what I did. They're about going from scratch and generating and modeling and making in the exact same spirit of any artist or sculptor that at least I'm accustomed to working with. So I hope this finds its way in a 4.5, 5-minute video into something or tool set or a way of making. I've never been interested in process, well, maybe process, but not materials. and concept only. I think it's always about your methodology of how you do things. So to be able to bring in the methodology of this, whereas I've brought in sine, cosine, I haven't used this tool right here, or any of these others. Tangent I've used. I'm going to go into arc cosine. I'm going to build some beautiful geometries, but stay to kind of piping and manufacture to build models digitally for the 21st century sculptor. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Michael Wickerson at Wickerson Studios out in Kansas City, Kansas.